So what's up guys, I am BlackOpsAmazing, welcome back to another video on the channel, back with another Q&A where we take your questions from the comment section below to do with the zombie storyline, Easter eggs and answer them. As always, if you enjoyed today's video, you know what to do, drop a like rating, make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest videos on the channel. Thank you for watching and let's get into it, here we go. So the first question of today from Dragon of Death 21 says, BOA, what if the Shadow Man isn't corrupted, but it's actually Dr. Monty that's blaming him? So your question's a little bit weird, but basically what you're saying is, what if the Shadow Man isn't corrupted? What if he isn't bad? And it's just Dr. Monty telling us that he is. Because of course we know that Dr. Monty has been tricking us. He's been getting us to believe that he's been good all of this time, that he's this god that's been helping us out. He's good and the Shadow Man is evil. That is what we've been led to believe so far. At least that was up until Blood of the Dead, where we were told that actually Monty is evil and our characters need to go and kill him. So you're saying, well, actually, what if the Shadow Man is good and it was just Dr. Monty all of this time making us believe he was evil? I think that's a good question. However, there are a lot of things, in my opinion, that point towards this not being the case. If the Shadow Man truly wasn't evil and he was just being made out to be, well, as we saw in Shadows of Evil, he tried to kill those characters. He was the one that put them in that alternate dimension. It was the Shadow Man that tried to kill the Shadows of Evil characters. We also saw the Shadow Man unleash the Apothecans, who have been a great evil for a very long time. There are a lot of things that point towards the Shadow Man being evil. I do believe he is. I don't think Dr. Monty's trying to trick us there, but we also know that Monty is evil as well. Both of them are. Whether there's one that's more evil than the other, I'm not sure. I mean, it seems like Monty would be more powerful. He is a god. I'm not exactly sure if the Shadow Man is, because we know that both of these guys were the first two beings to ever exist. They coexisted along with each other back in the beginning. So if these were the first two beings and Monty is a god, then why wouldn't the Shadow Man be a god as well? I don't know, but it just seems like Monty is a lot more powerful. As we know, he can give perks, power-ups, weapons. He can also make people disappear, fade from existence. It doesn't really seem like the Shadow Man can do that. In fact, we haven't really seen him do anything except from turn into his Apothecan form and get defeated by PRIMIS, which shows that maybe he's not as powerful as Monty. It's going to be interesting to see how exactly we are going to kill a god in DLC 3 or 4, whenever it's going to happen. But yeah, I do believe the Shadow Man is corrupted. He is evil, along with Monty. The next question from XXNothingXXXD says, hey BOA, what happened with the summoning key? I'd love an answer. So where is the summoning key? We haven't actually heard about it for a long time now. It wasn't really mentioned in Blood of the Dead or classified anytime throughout BO4. So you'd be right to question what happened to it. Of course, we did see it in the Blood of the Dead ending, but it hasn't really been a main focus on the storyline as it was before. But where is it as of right now? What happened to it? Well, in Blood of the Dead, we can see that post-Revelations Richtofen has it in his hand. He walks away with it, and it seems like he goes through the rift with it as well. It doesn't look like, or at least we don't see the exchange of him giving the summoning key to Nikolai. We know that post-Revelations Richtofen gave the Chronorium to Nikolai and told him to read it, discover his future, so he knows what he needs to do, which is to kill Dr. Monty. We also see them destroy all of the blood vials, but we don't see post-Revelations Richtofen give the summoning key to Nikolai, so I would assume he keeps it, and then he walks away through the rift. It disappears. And also we don't see it in the classified ending cutscene which takes place after this. So where is the summoning key? It looks like post-Revelations Richtofen has it. But as for where he is, we don't know. Possibly we're going to meet up with him in the future. Like I said, there's the small chance maybe he gave it to Nikolai and we just didn't see that exchange. So it's possible Nikolai could have it. But the last place we saw it was in the hands of post-Revelations Richtofen as he left through the rift out of Blood of the Dead. Are we going to see it again in the future? I would assume. I mean, it is the most powerful artifact in any universe. We've been told that plenty of times. Maybe the characters are going to use it to kill Dr. Monty. I don't know, but I do think we will be seeing it again. The next question of today says, do you think that we should have known Dr. Monty was evil in Gorod Karovi by the things that he was saying after you complete the Easter egg? Because we only just found out he was evil in Blood of the Dead. So I've never actually seen too many people talk about this. If you complete the Gorod Karovi Easter egg ending, and then you continue to play after that, not long after or pretty much straight after, Dr. Monty will start to talk to the PRIMIS crew. This is the first time that we ever heard him. Before Gorod Karovi, we only had hints towards Dr. Monty, whether it was his gobblegums or other signs that maybe this other being existed, this godly figure, but Dr. Monty had never been introduced to us. He'd never spoken, we'd never seen anything of him until the end of Gorod Karovi. We knew the first time we saw him was in Revelations, or a few trailers just before that, but actually the first time we heard from him was after you complete the Gorod Karovi Easter egg, where he introduces himself to our PRIMIS crew. But what's interesting is he only talks to Nikolai, Takeo and Dempsey, not Richtofen. Monty doesn't want Richtofen to hear what he's saying, so this is what he says.
Okay, Nikolai, Dempsey, Takeo, I'm only talking to you right now. Richtofen, he can't hear me, so he's probably off doing his own thing right now anyway. No change there, I suppose. The good news is, you're nearly done. It'll soon be time to come to the house. But this plan, this big plan, a lot of it's been riding on Richtofen. Before he caught up with you guys, he spent years traveling, searching out just the right versions of you. The ones who held the key to closing off the other dimensions. I think you know by now exactly what that entails. Point is, he's kind of surplus to requirements these days. He's been in the house for ages, but don't tell him. Anyway, it all makes sense when you get here. You'll see. Honestly, it's going to be fine. Oh, shit. I completely forgot to introduce myself. I'm Dr. Monty. Hello. So nice to see you all.
So even though it was Richtofen that led the PRIMIS crew on this journey, he was the one that was helping Dr. Maxis and Monty to fulfill their demands. Richtofen was the main reason why all of these things were done. He collected the souls, he knew what he was doing. PRIMIS Richtofen obviously is nothing like his ultimate self. PRIMIS Richtofen is good, he was helpful, he was trying to save the other PRIMIS characters. And so when I first heard this, for Dr. Monty to single Richtofen out and not talk to him, but only to the other characters, it was kind of strange and a bit suspicious. But as we see, Monty says to the PRIMIS crew, Nikolai, Takeo, Dempsey, I'm only talking to you right now, not Richtofen, but the good news is, you're nearly done. It'll soon be time to come to the house, but this plan, this big plan, a lot of it's been riding on Richtofen. Before he caught up with you guys, he spent years travelling, trying to find just the right versions of you, the ones that held the key to closing off all of the other dimensions. I think you know by now exactly what that entailed. The point is, Richtofen's kind of surplus to requirements these days. He's been in the house for ages, but don't tell him. Anyway, it'll all make sense when you get here. You'll see, honestly, it's going to be fine. Oh, and I forgot to introduce myself, I'm Dr. Monty. So it's just the way that he talks and that, he kind of comes across a bit suspicious, like he's not telling the characters everything. The way he says that Richtofen is surplus to requirements these days, basically saying he's no longer needed, that he's been in the house for ages. Obviously by that he means his child version Eddie, which we know has been in the house since before the giant, whereas the other kids, Takeo, Nikolai and Dempsey, only just got sent there at the end of Gorod. But Monty just randomly says Richtofen is no longer needed. It also makes it more strange since he's not talking to him, he's keeping this from him. And then he says to them, anyway, it'll all make sense when you get here, honestly, it's going to be fine. And again, him trying to reassure the PRIMIS crew that everything's going to be okay is suspicious. Why would he have to say that? And then he finishes by saying, oh, I forgot to introduce myself, I'm Monty. The way he just said everything in this, when I first heard this, I thought, this guy sounds evil. Even though we knew nothing about him, we knew that he'd been helping us, but then I heard this and I was like, something in this doesn't sound right. And I think this could have been our first hint that actually Monty is evil, that he's keeping something from us. And then of course the map after this was Revelations, where we do what Monty asks, the characters get to the house, the Shadow Man is unleashed, and we have to fight him, where eventually we win. And then we saw right at the end, because the PRIMIS crew drank the blood vials, which meant they didn't fade from existence, which is what they should have done, Monty sent them back to PRIMIS and reset the cycle. And even after all of that happened, we were still like 50-50. We had our suspicions that Monty was evil, just just because of some of the things that he did, like attempt to kill our characters. But then we knew he'd been helping us for a very long time. He'd been helping the PRIMIS crew by giving them weapons and stuff like that. Without that stuff, they wouldn't have been able to live, so Monty was keeping them alive, which would suggest that he's good. We were torn whether Monty was good or bad. Of course, now we know, as in Blood of the Dead, we've been told that we are going to kill him. He's been keeping our characters in this cycle. But actually, it seems like our very first hint towards him possibly being evil was when he introduced himself in Gorod Kurovi. I always thought it was a little bit suspicious, although it was never something that people really talked about. However, going back and taking a listen to it now, I don't know, Dr. Monty kind of comes across as a bit of a snake. So anyway guys, that is all I have for you for today's video. As always, hopefully you have enjoyed. If you have, you know what to do. Drop a like rating. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest videos on the channel. Thank you all so much for watching. Leave your questions down below, and I will see you all in the next one. Until then, goodbye.